Reared my alcoholic ex-husband's child after his mother left. I paid for his education, employment, and wedding. He knew she was his only mother. I've been married to Jasper for 18 years. We met Jasper, a single father struggling to raise Kyle alone. I immediately saw his love for his child, and as I came to know them, I understood their struggles. Jasper had been through a lot before we met, especially due to his connection with Kyle's birth mother, CE. From what Jasper told me, their relationship was not calm. Cece's alcoholism strained their marriage and made the house poisonous for everyone, especially Kyle. After Jasper confided, I realized how hard it was for him. He informed me that Cece drank all day, even when Kyle was home and wanted her company, which was one reason they fought. Kyle's mother ignored him, neglecting even the most basic needs like food, bathing, and homework. Kyle's mental and physical health declined, adding to Jasper's concerns. Jasper often returned to find his son wailing in a corner, famished and filthy. As a kind father, Jasper tried to help Cece. He repeatedly begged her to get therapy and improve as a mother for Kyle, but she refused. He tried more to help Cece, but she resisted. Cece would attack him, and their disagreements would become so heated that she would shout, hurl objects around the house, and threaten him with a weapon. Jasper told me Cece would kill herself if he left her, which was disturbing. He felt limited by scheming, maintaining tranquility and shielding Kyle from upheaval. Jasper had to be careful to control Cece's unpredictable behavior while being a loving father to Kyle. Everything culminated when Cece passed a defining line. Jasper's mother visited once. She was firm and direct and saw how much CCC disregarded housework in Kyle. CCC stole some of Jasper's mother's jewelry there. She may have committed this dangerous and desperate crime due to her drunkenness and need for money to buy more booze. Luckily, Jasper's mother confronted her. To explain her theft, Cece blamed her intoxication, as if it were regular. Jasper's mother was furious. More importantly, she worried about Cece's impact on her son and grandson. She spoke seriously with Jasper and Cece that night. She informed Cece that she needed assistance quickly. This havoc she brought into the house was no longer acceptable. Jasper's mother warned them that she would call Child Protective Services if Cece didn't receive help. She couldn't let things continue because her grandson's health was at risk. Cece's defensiveness was expected. When she felt constricted, she used the same threats she had used against Jasper during their arguments. She added that everyone should be more understanding of her because she was trying to quit drinking and threatening suicide. Jasper's mother persisted. Cece's rants and threats didn't bother her. However, she gently but firmly warned Cece that they would call 911 if she threatened to kill herself. They could detain her for 72 hours in mental detention, where she would face her difficulties with competent guidance. Cece was surprised. She finally understood her normal methods didn't work. This opponent refused to be intimidated or pushed. Cece stopped talking when she realized her behavior was unacceptable. Later that night, Cece may have recognized she had no option or wanted to escape the stress. Cece had enough for whatever reason. She calmly packed some of her items. Before departing, she wrote a brief statement that she was done with Jasper and his son. Jasper repeatedly contacted her and encouraged her to go to marital therapy with him to save their marriage for their child. But Cece was done. She didn't fight for Kyle's custody throughout divorce. Her main concern was collecting a large alimony payout. She relinquished parental rights without reluctance, breaking her bond with her child. Kyle never said goodbye to his mother because he had gone through so much. She appeared and then vanished from their lives. Jasper had to get up and continue with Kyle to give him the safe and supportive home he needed. But Cece didn't keep in touch and remained a dismal memory for them. When I met Jasper, he had been through a lot. He was Kyle's loving father despite this. I liked his tenacity and perseverance and felt comfortable around him. Dating Jasper was challenging at first, especially with his son. Kyle was protective of his father and opposed to anyone else getting Jasper's attention. It was understandable given his mother's experience. Because he had lost one father, I could tell he still feared abandonment. I knew it would take love, effort, and patience, but I wanted Kyle's trust first. I tried to show Kyle I was staying. I knew his security was tenuous, so I wanted him to know I was loyal to him and his father. I made modest daily connections with him to show him that I respected him as much as Jasper. Examples include helping him with schoolwork, cooking his favorite dishes, listening to his concerns, and spending time with him. I tried to get to know him, even if it was just to listen. It was slow, and I sometimes felt like I was making no progress. But I kept telling myself that Kyle's confidence had been damaged and would take time to recover. Kyle changed over the 3 years Jasper and I dated. The child gradually confided in me. As his walls fell down, he welcomed me into his life. It was about accepting me into the family, not just putting up with me. Kyle's acceptance of Jasper's proposal changed everything. Kyle's support of our love meant everything. In addition to marrying my dream man, Kyle's speech made our wedding day unforgettable. Kyle told our family how much he liked seeing his father and having me. I cried over those comments, which commemorated our adventure. For years, Jasper and I have fought to strengthen our marriage. Our relationships, love, and loyalty define family. Our friendship reminds us that family is more than blood. Jasper has remained the loving husband and father I fell in love with, despite our best efforts to provide Kyle a safe, caring environment. Kyle was hard to raise. They have had many happy and meaningful moments, but also some difficult ones, notably during his teens and early adulthood. Kyle exhibited severe mood swings, stubbornness, and wrath during those years. All of Jasper's early hurt and uncertainty seemed like something we had to cope with jointly. Kyle often blamed his father for his mother's departure, even though Jasper had done everything he could to keep her. Kyle regularly yelled at me. He would blame me of breaking their bond and betraying his father. Hearing such comments hurt since I had never done it. Things escalated when Kyle acted dangerously at school. He stole our automobile at night to go on joy rides with his mates when he got his driver's license. This was risky. Jasper and I would phone Kyle to come home immediately after waking up to find the automobile gone. He returned home, often smelling of alcohol. After 2 warnings for marijuana use in class, he was expelled. Despite these obstacles, I never gave up on Kyle. After he was expelled, I found him a new school to start anew. I spent numerous hours researching, calling, and visiting schools to ensure he had the ideal environment to turn things around. I wanted Kyle to improve his life, even if it was hard. I did everything I could to aid him. I urged him to join extracurriculars and attend all parent-teacher conferences in hopes that finding love would help him release his energy. I prepared his birthday parties every year to his specifications, so even when things were bad at home, he had enjoyable and normal times with his friends. Kyle, however, complicated things. In response to my statements, he yelled in frustration. His fury may push me away. Despite his terrible statements, I always forgive him as if he were my child, because he was. I saw a struggling child underneath all that fury who wanted someone to believe in him, even though he didn't. I caught Kyle trying to steal from me twice. Instead of violently punishing him, I would sit with him and find out what was wrong. We sent him to therapy to help him address the underlying issues driving his behavior, because I wanted him to trust me and know that I was there to help him, not judge him. I still thought Kyle was charming despite his phase rebellion. I believed he would overcome it with time, love, and support. I never gave up on Kyle because I loved him and believed in him. Kyle slowly changed over the years. His teenage rage and disobedience gradually gave way to a more mature and responsible personality. He started showing more empathy and caring for others, and he argued less with us. He now looked to be relaxing and gaining perspective. Kyle revealed his actual thoughts for his mother, CC. Kyle missed her and wanted to know who she was and why she left him despite everything that had happened years earlier. He told Jasper and me he wanted to find and know her. It was hard because I knew Kyle needed this, but Jasper was hesitant. CC had caused confusion and pain, my husband remembered. Since he knew she had abandoned Kyle without hesitation, he worried reconciling with her may cause new or rekindled anguish. He wanted to spare Kyle the heartache and disappointment of attempting to connect with someone who had never cared. I understood Kyle's perspective. No matter how much he loved his father and our life together, he would always have unsolved issues if he didn't face the past and find answers from his mother. I strongly recommended Jasper to let Kyle decide. I stated that even though Dad wanted to protect Kyle from more anguish, Kyle was old enough to make this choice and strong enough to handle the circumstance. Jasper nodded reluctantly. He believed Kyle needed to go through this process to go forward, despite his reservations. Kyle chose to find his mother. Cece had vanished from their life, and her family was reticent to provide information, making it tough. Finally, Kyle's maternal grandmother felt sorry for him. She provided him Cece's address and phone number and suggested meeting. Kyle and Cece met, which was difficult but rewarding. He didn't get the nice, nurturing mother he wanted. She was still an alcoholic, but she married again and had additional children. She openly informed Kyle she caused their family's breakdown. She took responsibility for her mistakes and abandoned Kyle and Jasper. When Kyle asked why she hadn't checked in, Cece frankly told him she wanted to move on, and that he was a reminder of her awful past. Kyle begged his mother to keep in touch despite her hurtful attitude. Kyle naively gave in when the woman asked for cab fare. This must have shown Kyle how stupid she was to manipulate him for money. Kyle has stayed close to his mother, Cece, despite many obstacles. Kyle's attachment to his mother has stayed strong despite Jasper and I's disappointment, especially given Cece's past abuse. Cece would visit Kyle only when she needed money. After leaving Jasper, she would ask Kyle to mind her other children for free while she took care of herself. It was painful to witness Cece exploit Kyle, who had such a good heart. Kyle would become agitated whenever we tried to talk to him or show him his mother was abusing him. He would say we had no right to interfere with his connection with her, and that it was his choice. Kyle was normally calm and composed, but he always drew a line and told us to back off with his mother. We had to let it go, even if it was hard, since we knew he was sensitive to it. We wanted to keep Kyle safe, but we knew it would cause strife. Kyle must evaluate his mother. Therefore, Jasper and I reluctantly let Kyle keep his friendship with Cease. I focused on loving and supporting him in other ways. Kyle would consult me for girl approaching guidance. For his relocation, I helped him pack and set up his new apartment. I visited him weekly with home-cooked meals and other goods. Because Kyle loathed cooking, I thought he would definitely live off takeout or something easy if he didn't have help. To give him a healthy lunch after a long day. I packed his fridge with his favorites. He appreciated it, even if he didn't always express it, because it was my way of taking care of him despite my absence. Kyle knew he could talk to me about his romantic or other concerns. He would sit down and talk about whatever was on his mind, and I would listen without judgment. I was glad we had created trust, and that he felt comfortable telling me his problems. Even though they were close and Jasper was his father, Kyle typically contacted me first because he trusted me to handle things calmly and sympathetically. Kyle met Serena a year ago, and I knew she was unique right away. Serena is nice and joined our family quickly. I always wanted Kyle to find stability and happiness, and Serena was everything I could have wished for. Kyle proposed to Serena this year after their relationship grew. It seemed like a fresh chapter for us when she said yes. Serena and I have been meticulously organizing their wedding since then. I enjoyed working with Serena to make their big day even better because we both like spending time together. Serena understood our complicated family history, especially CCC's difficulty. She saw how CC's constant demands for money would stretch Kyle's finances every month. After their engagement, Serena decided Kyle's financial support of his biological mother had to end if she and Kyle were to start a life together. Serena told him he could talk to CC without paying. Kyle hated this role since he constantly felt sorry for his mother. When Serena raised the subject, they fought. Kyle struggled to love Serena and obey his mother. Serena refused to quit, making it apparent that their future together was in peril and that they needed to prioritize themselves. Kyle eventually saw Serena's point. First time in years he stopped sending CC money. When she contacted him, Serena sought direct contact with CCC. She assured CC that Kyle would marry her and that she should cease relying on him for money because she was a parent. CC's reaction to this new border was expected. She felt betrayed and furious. She tried to get Kyle to split up with Serena in her rage. She knew marrying Serena would end his income flow. Kyle ignored her words. Kyle and Serena married 2 months ago. I eagerly and proudly awaited this day, knowing Kyle and Serena meant so much to one another. Kyle treated me like nothing at the wedding. At first I assumed it was my imagination, but his actions got clearer during the day. In his reception speech, Kyle praised his biological mother, CCE, for being his sole mother and always supporting him. He also praised his father's sonship. He never mentioned my name or how I raised him over the years. I was ignored even though I had been his mother for more years than CCE and helped pay for his wedding. When he ignored me, I was shocked and upset. Kyle told Serena's folks that CC was his mother and that he was pleased to see her that night. Despite knowing CC was his biological mother, I thought my efforts were pointless and he didn't appreciate me. Serena and Jasper were as confused and hurt as me. They were surprised Kyle would mistreat me at his wedding. CCC seemed to enjoy the spotlight. She pretended to be the star. Never once has she thanked Jasper and me for raising Kyle. Rejection and misery have plagued me since the wedding. It's heartbreaking that Kyle ignores my influence despite everything I've done for him. When Kyle initially contacted me after the wedding, I hoped he'd apologize or understand my grief. Instead, he called to say Serena had told him about my thoughts and that I shouldn't be jealous of CC, his birth mother. This interpretation surprised me. Instead of jealousy, I was upset and irritated that he ignored me after all my help. Kyle's next statement was devastating. He said CC would always be his mother and I would always be his stepmother. Despite everything I did for him, hearing this hit me in the heart. It seemed like my efforts and sacrifices were ignored. It was heartbreaking to see that, despite my efforts, my presence in his life was fading. After this talk, I broke communication to think on my feelings. This took some time to sink in. Jasper was understanding and wanted to talk to his son, but I told him Kyle was an adult and that if he couldn't respect me after all these years, there was no use in fighting for something unfair. I got duped. I've had a nightmare raising Kyle since he was a child, assisting him through his challenges. I was devastated by my efforts being ignored. It had been weeks since I chatted with Kyle, but he called me several times yesterday. I ignored his calls because I needed time away. I answered when he called 5 times. He was panicked because CCE, who had come to stay with him and Serena for a few days, departed that morning. Then she left. He lost 2 pricey watches and some home-stored emergency cash. He requested me to drive with Serena and him to meet CC because he knew she was problematic and didn't want to arrest her. I laughed and realized he wasn't asking Jasper for help because he knew his father would be mad at him for seeing CC despite her ongoing disinterest. I was done because he ignored me, even though I was courteous and could help. Since I was not his biological mother, I told him he would have to confront his mother alone to get his belongings back. He became upset and asked me to help him during the wedding, since he needed me. After telling him his birth mother deserved this, I hung up. AITA for abandoning my stepson after he mistreated me? Update 1. I appreciate everyone telling me I'm not responsible. Kyle and Serena confronted CC about the stolen cash and valuables. She admitted taking them but refused to return. CC shouted at them for being selfish, and that her children needed the money when Serena threatened to contact the police. She added that Serena's children needed to learn to share because they were Kyle's family. CC felt no regret. Kyle must have realized the truth after this. He must have known how vital helping CC and her children was. He informed her she couldn't stay in their house and threatened to call the police if she returned. CC claimed to be his mother, but Kyle yelled that she had done nothing for him and that he was done with her. Kyle called later to apologize and explain. He promised to explain why he ignored me during the wedding tomorrow. Despite my sadness, I'm listening to him. We spoke with Kyle during his stay. CC told Kyle before his wedding that he must call her his mother. She thought it would be embarrassing if others found out she had left him, and that I had raised him, so she wanted Kyle to lie and say she had always been a part of his life. CCT knew we wouldn't disgrace Kyle by telling him. But only Serena, Jasper's family, and I knew. She threatened to miss the wedding if Kyle didn't cooperate. Kyle foolishly followed her orders under duress. He said he took full responsibility and gaslighted me after I was outraged by his decision. He stated he understood if I wanted to break up because he ruined everything. I thanked him for his honesty but wasn't sure if I should trust him. He granted my request to cleanse my head. Update 3 months after my last post, I've forgiven Kyle and moved on. I stopped spoiling him after everyone advised me. I offer any assistance he needs. CC no longer talks to him, and he and Serena are happy. Jasper and I are excited for our next week trip to spend time together.